News on Tuesday that the Bundesbank is ready to support further easing steps from the European Central Bank next month if they are warranted, ensured a limited rebound for the euro and an equally shallow dip in stocks from these peaks. And sources also told Reuters that a rate cut next month is more or less a done deal. And after the sizable ECB-driven moves across equities, bonds and currencies on Tuesday, the focus switched to the BoE on Wednesday. And investors will look to British employment data, the central bank's quarterly inflation report, and comments from Governor Mark Carney, full signs on the timing of an expected rise in interest rates, which some analysts now speculate could come in late 2014 rather than early next year. And this would likely mean the BoE being the first G4 central bank to raise rates from the post-recession record lows of virtually zero across Britain, the United States, Eurozone and Japan. And Governor Carney will try to soothe the market's fears of an overheating housing market, an analyst said in a note to clients. And he is not yet ready to tighten policy, they cautioned. And still, the contrasting policy bias of the ECB and BoE pushed the euro to a 16-month low against sterling on Wednesday of 81.23 pence. And the euro regained a footing against the dollar, however, ticking up 0.1% to $1.3720. On Tuesday it fell below $1.37, marking a near 3-cent fall in less than a week. And Britain's FTSE 100 index of leading shares, FTSE, was down 0.2% at 6,859 points. And the FTSE First 300 index of leading European shares was down 0.1% at 1,367 points. FTSE 3, hovering close to Tuesday's 6-year high. The FTSE First 300 has risen some 7% from lows in March. In Germany's DAX was flat on the day at 9,752 points. Earlier on Wednesday it had climbed 0.2% to 9,771.40 points, back within reach of the record high of 9,794 points reached in January. In Italian bond strength and Asian shares rose to their highest level in more than a month on Wednesday after the S&P 500 closed at a record high overnight. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan, MIAPCH 0000 bus added 0.8% after earlier hitting its highest level since April 10. In Hong Kong shares, HSI were up more than 1% as investors snapped up property and banking stocks after China's central bank urged mainland banks to speed up the granting of home loans. And Japan's Nikkei and 225 bucked the trend, slipping about 0.1% and moving away from the previous session's 1-12-week high as investors took profits. And in bond markets, Italian yields held near record lows before the sale of a longer-dated bond in Rome that is expected to fare well, after Spain's first inflation-linked bond issue on Tuesday drew bids of more than €20 billion. And plans for the new Italian 15-year bond issue, to be sold via syndication, were unveiled late on Tuesday. And the key theme here is that demand for peripheral paper is very strong, and the Spanish linker showed 70% of the issue was picked up by foreign investors, and the Italian syndication should show a similar trend, said Commerzbank strategist Michael Leister. And Italian 10-year yields were steady at 2.94%. Not far from the record low 2.90% hit last week, and Spanish 10-year yields dipped 1 basis point at 2.89%, with Irish equivalents were also slightly lower, both heading back towards record lows. And in commodities trading, U.S. crude added about 0.4% to $102.04 a barrel, extending Tuesday's 2-week highs hit on expectations that weekly inventory reports will show record low stockpiles. And spot gold rose 0.5% to $1,300 an ounce. And additional reporting by Amelius Holmataris in London and Lisa Warrenite in Tokyo, editing by Alison Williams, To read Reuters Global Investing blog, click here, and for the Macroscope blog, click on blogs.reuters.com Macroscope, and for Hedge Fund Blog Hub, click on blogs.reuters.com Hedge Hub. And back to top. And Thomson Reuters is the world's largest international multimedia news agency, providing investing news, world news, business news, technology news, headline news, small business news, news alerts, personal finance, stock market, and mutual funds information available on Reuters.com, video, mobile, and interactive television platforms. Thomson Reuters journalists are subject to an editorial handbook which requires fair presentation and disclosure of relevant interests. NYSE and Amex quotes delayed by at least 20 minutes. Nasdaq delayed by at least 15 minutes. For a complete list of exchanges and delays, please click here.